Yo, what's up, guys? Quantum So 2 here. Summerslam 2014 is right around the corner. I know this is not the preview, but um, since it is SummerSlam, there's been a lot of SummerSlams over the years. Many, like SummerSlam started in what 1988. That is a long time. A lot of SummerSlams, and I've seen a good amount of those SummerSlams. Um, so I've been watching wrestling since like 2001. So I've seen a lot of SummerSlams, and I went back and looked at some of the older ones as well, but not a lot of them, but some of them. But before we get to SummerSlam, 2014 is coming up, the big Brock Lesnar versus John Cena match, and so on and so forth. I thought it'd be an awesome time to talk about my favorite SummerSlam matches from the past, and I'm gonna be naming my top, not just 10. I couldn't just get 10. I was gonna do 10, but there's more than that. I just realized, looking back at all the pay-per-views, realizing how many of these matches I actually really like. So instead of 10, I'm gonna be on my top 15 SummerSlam matches of all time, and I'm gonna break it down for you and tell you exactly why they were my favorites. So let's do it. All right, guys. Starting at the top, number 15 on the list of all-time favorite SummerSlam matches has to be SummerSlam 1994, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart for the WWE Championship, but not just in any match, inside of a steel cage. That's right. It was brother versus brother in '94. Bret Hart was on the top of the world. He was the WWE champion, and Owen Hart played the jealous brother who wanted it all as well. And it was really awesome setup with this. I mean, they had Owen and Bret inside that steel cage. On the outside, they had the parents of Bret and Owen staying in the crowd. So the commentary was basically focused on who are they going to cheer for in this matchup. Who are Stu Hart going to cheer? Who's Stu Hart going to cheer for? Is his successful son Bret, or his youngest son Owen Hart, who wants to get to the top? And Owen Hart was willing to do anything to get that spot, and finally they had their matchup at SummerSlam inside the steel cage, a classic match. And I'm not really a big steel cage fan, because usually a lot of them aren't really that good, but that match was really good. First of all, you had the story between the two brothers, and I don't think back then there was a lot. That might have been one of the first brother or siblings personal battles in the WWE. It could have been one of the first. Later on, we would get the Hardys and some other people as well. But I think that was the first real battle, especially for the main time of the WWE Championship. I think so. But that was a great matchup between those two. Previously did everything you could do inside a steel cage at that time with those blue bars, which I was like, they had to be tough. It was like the thick, silver ones that we have now. It was kind of the little lanky, small blue steel cage that they were working with. And man, they really worked that matchup. They did everything possible in that matchup to make that match as exciting. Owen Hart, great wrestler. Competitor Bret Hart, great. You put those two together, they made magic. And it was a great match. But in the end, Bret Hart will win the matchup and retain the WWE Championship, and go on to have even greater matches. And Owen Hart will have great matches up until his passing in '99. So that's number 15. Number 14 on the list, Chris Benoit versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2004. We all know that Chris Benoit had that great run with the World Heavyweight Championship. I think it was like an 8 or 7 month title reign as the World Heavyweight Champion, beating everybody on Raw. He got healthy, I think, since since WrestleMania 20, and beat Triple H, beat Randy Orton, beat a lot of big names, retained his championship, had a hell of a run. And then he finally met his match when he went against the new up and comer at the time, the Legend Killer, Randy Orton, who was at that time a member of Evolution. and they would go on to have a really really good match at SummerSlam. I mean, a lot of people talk about now how we don't really get that many new champions and all that. And you're looking for something new. Randy Orton was that new face that everybody was looking for. They knew how athletically gifted he was and how he was just born to be a WWE superstar. And Randy Orton put on one hell of a show. And he really went toe to toe with Chris Benoit, who was probably one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the business ever. They did mat wrestling. We saw some high flying stuff. Benoit took this sick suicide dive spot when he hit head first into the barricade. So much stuff, man. Really, really great matchup. And Randy Orton, I think Chris Benoit would try to go for at the end. Would try to go for the crippler crossface to get counter into a very, very, very sexy looking. I know I'm calling the move sexy, but it was really, really beautiful looking RKO. And will pin Chris Benoit 1, 2, 3, and win his first ever World Heavyweight Championship at the age of 24, becoming the youngest reigning World Heavyweight Champion in WWE history. And that was a moment that will never be forgotten. I know by Randy Orton. And it's a shame that we won't ever get to see that matchup. That match is never recognized because of all the Chris Benoit stuff, and it really sucks because that was a really big moment for Randy Orton. I don't even think that match is on his DVD actually. So every time they talk about him being the World Heavyweight Champion, they just show him holding up the title, but they're never going to show that great match. That match will always be lost in time. But luckily for you, you can go on WWE Network and watch it for only $9.99 a month, guys. Remember that. Anyway, let's get on to 13. Alright, the next match on my list has to be Edge versus Eddie Guerrero from SummerSlam 2002. One of my favorite SummerSlams of all time. You're going to see matches from this SummerSlam all out throughout this countdown. But this is definitely one of my favorite matches on that card. Edge and Eddie Guerrero are having great matches throughout their rivalry, man. I mean, but this SummerSlam match wasn't my favorite match between those two. My favorite was the one they had on SmackDown. I think it was like a no disqualifications match or something like that. That was my favorite. But this one was really, really, really good between the two. Eddie and Edge just had it, man. They were just on point. All the matches were just like that. It was smooth. I don't think they botched at all, man. Edge had I think he hit like a super execution off the top rope. Eddie was working on the arm the whole time. He had like a frog splash right on Edge's arm. It was really really good matchup, but it all ended. I think Eddie went for a frog splash again and got countered or something, and Edge hit the execution and pinned him. Or didn't? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I think he speared him. I got to go back and look at that match. I didn't really go back and look at this one, but I think he speared him and pinned him after that. But it's one of those matches that I feel is like not really talked about when it comes to SummerSlam. It's kind of one of those sleeper matches, but definitely go check that out. That is an awesome matchup between those two, and yeah, guys, definitely check that out. On to number 12. Number 12 on my list, CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2009. And I think it was a great matchup. A TLC match. I don't remember the last time we saw a TLC match at SummerSlam. It could have been, I don't know. But this one was really, really good between the two. Jeff Hardy was on his way out the door. He was the World Heavyweight Champion, and CM Punk was the rising heel on SmackDown. And it was a really, really good match because not only was this a World Championship matchup between two guys that you would never have expected to be in a World Championship match. I'm pretty sure, I gotta go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that they main evented SummerSlam that year and ended the pay-per-view, which was really, really awesome for both of those guys who just a year before that were never looked at as a World Championship contenders at all. And then here they are, both of them, in the main event of SummerSlam, the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Like CM Punk was being an awesome heel. Basically, the whole story was CM Punk thought that Jeff Hardy didn't deserve all this stuff he was getting. That these people cheered him even though he did drug, he made all these mistakes and all that. He's not a straight edge, role model like him, and it turned him heel. And they had a great rivalry. They had matches at, I believe, Night of Champions, and they had another match. But this was Jeff Hardy's final, second to last matchup, and it was really, really good. Jeff Hardy being a great, when it comes to ladders, TLC matches and stuff like that, there's nobody better than Jeff Hardy. And Jeff, I think Jeff hit like a swanton from a real, like a 15-foot, like 20-foot, 15-foot ladder onto the announcer's table on the Punk, and that was a crazy spot right there. One of the last big spots Jeff Hardy performed before his second run was over. But in the end, I think Punk would kick Jeff Hardy off of the ladder and regain the World Heavyweight Championship, and beating Jeff Hardy. They will have another match the next night, the next SmackDown, which was Jeff Hardy's final match in a steel cage. That was good, but when I think about this rivalry, I really think about that matchup, and not only because of that. And at the very end of the matchup, CM Punk will hold the World Heavyweight Championship on top of Jeff Hardy, and the lights would go out, and Jeff Hardy would no longer be there. But the man who took his place was none other than the Phenom, The Undertaker, and that was the return of The Undertaker. And that was just one awesome visual they had right there. I think Undertaker would get up and chokeslam CM Punk to the ground, and they were going to have their rivalry. So that was a really cool setup for that. Number 11 on my list is another match that has a ladder in it. I have a lot of matches that have ladders in it in this countdown. Here's another one. The ladder match for the custody of Dominic, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. If you take out the whole storyline with Dominic, this match was really, really good. And I'm not saying that took away from it, but I mean, this will probably be lower on my list of. It'll probably be lower on the list if it wasn't for that storyline, which at the time didn't seem that ridiculous to me. But now going back looking at it, it was kind of like, really? I mean, they're fighting over for the custody of a child. Yeah, it doesn't. Anyway, you take that out. The match was great. Power bombs, everything. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero have probably one of the best chemistry together. I mean, when you put those two together, it's just magic every time. So many sick spots. It was like I think Rey was like hanging from the ladder, hanging from the contract, and Rey like power bombed him, caught him and power bombed him to the ground. Helos on the ladder, everything, man, you could think of. Even I believe both their wives got involved in this matchup as well. I'm not really sure about Rey's wife, but definitely Vicky Guerrero got involved and cost Eddie the contract or the custody papers. He was gonna go up there and climb it. I think Dominic's the one who got involved at first and stopped him, and then Vicky Guerrero came out there and pushed the ladder over and held Eddie Guerrero down so Rey could climb the ladder and retrieve the custody papers. Really good match. If you take out the whole storyline to it and just take it for what it was, probably go down to one of SummerSlam's most classic matches when it comes to the SmackDown portion of SummerSlam. So yeah, go definitely, if you haven't seen that matchup, go check it out. It's really good. All right, 5 down, 10 more to go. Next on my list is definitely a sleeper when it comes to SummerSlam matches, and a lot of people may not remember this matchup. And it is the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship at SummerSlam 2003 between the champion Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Tajiri, and Rhino. This matchup was awesome. All 4 of these guys were definitely really popular guys on the SmackDown brand. They really made that brand in 2003. And it was really cool spots in that match. I remember one of the spots I really remember the most is when Eddie Guerrero put in the lasso from El Paso onto Tajiri, and then Chris Benoit, I think Rhino tried to break it up, and then Chris Benoit caught him in the crossface And Eddie was looking at him like, "Oh my God, just Tajiri, can you freaking just tap out right now?" So I can hurry up and win this match. I don't have to worry about Rhino tapping out. Eventually, he let Tajiri go and broke up the crossface. That was really cool. Um, Also, just a whole bunch of different things, man. It's worked out really good. Worked really good together. Rhino had his power, uh, and then Eddie using his just lie cheating, stealing tactics, and Benoit being just a beast in the ring, and Tajiri with his all his awesome kicks and all that stuff was really good chemistry together in that matchup. And it seemed like everybody they wanted to make sure that Eddie Guerrero did not walk out of that thing the champ, because I think before that, before the pay per view on SmackDown, Eddie basically had taken out everybody with the U.S. Championship. I'm telling you, Eddie Guerrero was over, man. I remember that matchup. Everybody was chanting Eddie's name, and they really wanted him to retain the championship. I think that's really when the whole lie cheating and stealing thing was getting over, for the crowd, and they were really enjoying that. Um, but everybody did. It was really awesome in that matchup. But in the end, Eddie Guerrero retained the championship and remained the U.S. champion. But definitely, that's a match that a lot of people I don't believe remember. But that's something if you have the network, go back and check out that match out. It's really good. Next on the list, number 9, SummerSlam, also from SummerSlam 2003. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. They had a great matchup, which is probably one of my I like this. I like the WrestleMania matchup they had better than this one, but this one was just as good. But this time, Brock Lesnar was the heel, Kurt Angle was the face. They had this whole storyline. They were best friends. They were on good terms. But then it came to a matchup on SmackDown, I believe, where it was Vince McMahon versus Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar was playing up like he had a concussion or something, and Kurt Angle was the special guest referee. He was checking on Mr. McMahon. He turned around and then Brock F5'd him and took him out. And also another part on SmackDown where Brock Lesnar beat the living hell out of Zach Gowen, the guy with one leg, destroyed him, and then Kurt vowed to retain the the WWE Championship at SummerSlam, and they went on to have a great matchup, just as good as the WrestleMania matchup. Kurt would work on the leg the entire time in that matchup, putting the ankle lock on Brock. It was one time he did this weird submission, where he kind of jumped over him, like he was going for a sunset flip, and then held onto his head like a body scissors with his arms, and had his head in a head scissors, and trying to go to sleep. He faded and then put him back in the ankle lock. That was really cool. In that match, I think Mr. Man would come out in that matchup somewhere too and try to get Brock to get to motivate him or something. I don't know. Anyway, one of the coolest things about that whole match was when Brock picked up Kurt Angle for the F5, and he basically F5'd him with one leg. He was on one leg and he F5'd him. That just shows you the insane athleticism and power of Brock Lesnar, and that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Kurt Angle's not a small guy, and the fact that he was hopping on one leg and F5'd him, that was crazy. But that was not enough to take out Kurt. Kurt Angle kicked out, and yeah, Kurt Angle would make Brock Lesnar tap out to the ankle lock, and Kurt Angle would retain his championship. And just to put the icing on the icing on the cake, the cherry on top of the ice cream, Kurt Angle would get Mr. Man in the ring, and Angle slammed him on top of a open steel chair, which was awesome. And that was really an awesome moment for Kurt Angle. One of my favorite matches in SummerSlam history. SummerSlam 2002, Brock Lesnar versus The Rock. The Rock versus Brock for the WWE Championship, Undisputed Championship. Great matchup between the two. This was the time where they were building up Brock like a monster. Brock had came in just a couple of months ago, uh, won the King of the Ring, tapped out Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and was just a raking machine. And it was like nobody could stop him. And finally, the big battle between two of the biggest stars at the time, the rising star Brock Lesnar versus the established fan favorite The Rock. But in that matchup, the roles seemed like they switched because The Rock was getting booed, which I can see why, because The Rock was leaving. The crowd knew that The Rock was leaving the square circle to become a big star in Hollywood. He was doing his movies and all that, and the freaking crowd just turned on him. They didn't want anything to do with The Rock. They wanted a new champion, a person that was going to be there for them, a guy who was going to represent what they love in wrestling. Brock Lesnar, the new guy, the next big thing. So the crowd was cheering for Brock and booing The Rock, who was the face in the match. They booed him. Rock and Brock will have a really, really great matchup. They had Paul Heyman out there causing chaos. Rock would put him in a sharpshooter, and Heyman was trying to get on the top rope. Rock would pull him in and try to beat him up. I think the exchange finished. I think like Brock hit a Brock bottom somewhere in that matchup, which I didn't see coming. But in the end, they have a final little exchange where The Rock would go for a rock bottom, got it countered, and then he would go for it again, countered that time, picked him up, F5, 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar will win his first ever WWE champion, and at that time will become the youngest WWE World Champion until 2 years later, where Randy Orton would beat that record at SummerSlam 2004. But for that time, that was a really, really awesome moment. I always remember that picture of Brock holding the Undisputed Championship. He's like, his freaking pecs are like really just awesome moment for him having a match with The Rock. And I was hoping that we would get to see this match again at WrestleMania 30. But hopefully down the line we will see Brock 2. I think that's definitely a rematch. It definitely needs to happen. And I think it will one day. But until then, this match will do. And on my list is the Elimination Chamber match from SummerSlam 2003, which had the champion, the World Heavyweight Champion, Triple H, Goldberg, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Kevin Nash, and what's it? Yeah, that's everybody. Oh, and Randy Orton, as well as Randy Orton in that matchup. The Elimination Chamber was still really, really fresh in the WWE. They only have had one, and that was at Survivor Series the previous year, where Shawn Michaels would win the WWE World, not WWE, but the World Heavyweight Championship. But this year, it was still really, really fresh, and this time had guys like Goldberg in it, who we knew everybody wanted Goldberg to win the championship from Triple H. Triple H had been the champion for so long. Everybody just wanted Goldberg to destroy him, and we almost got that. This has to be probably one of the most memorable Survivor Series. You look at all those little, when they show the Elimination Chamber promos for when it happens, they always show spots from this matchup. I remember one spot where like Triple H was about to get out come out of the chamber, and Shawn Michaels like kicked him back in there, super kicked him back inside the chamber, and that's basically where he stayed until the very end. And I think I don't know, Kevin Nash got eliminated really, really early in that matchup. I forgot from who, but he was just out of there really, really early. I remember him jackknife power bombing Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton, and then leaving the ring. But then everything basically exploded when Goldberg came out and basically wreaked havoc on everybody, spearing everybody. He I remember him spearing Randy Orton, jackhammer, slamming Randy Orton, and then pinning him, taking out one of the most memorable spots in that whole Elimination Chamber is when he speared Chris Jericho through the cell, the plexiglass, and took him out. They got back in the ring, speared Shawn Michaels, hit him with the jackhammer, pinned him, and then Jericho got one. Jack Hammer pinned him. That was it. He eliminated just about everybody in the matchup. And it came down to him and Triple H. Triple H tried to stay inside the his cell, and I think Ric Flair was trying to like hold the door closed, and you can't get it open. Goldberg's like, okay, fine. Boom, punched and kicked that thing over, broke it open, beat the living hell out of Triple H inside of there, and they went on to have a little matchup. But Goldberg was set up for the spear. And I think Ric Flair would throw him the world championship, and he would spear. No, it wasn't a world. It was the sledgehammer. Would throw him the sledgehammer, and when he tried to spear him, he hit him in the head with the sledgehammer, pinned him 1, 2, 3. Crowd was disappointed. Triple H retained the world heavyweight championship, and they would go on to then they would like handcuff him to the chamber and like hit him in the head with the sledgehammer, and the Evolution would stand tall that night at SummerSlam, but definitely a memorable Elimination Chamber to say the least. The number 6 on my list is from SummerSlam 01. Jeff Hardy versus Rob Van Dam for the Hardcore Championship. This was probably one of my least favorite times in the WWE. This is kind of when I really started watching. It was the whole alliance thing was going on with WCW stars, ECW stars, and the WWF stars at the time. And I think at this time it was where RVD was on the Alliance, I think. Jeff Hardy was WWE. Can't really remember. But I think Jeff Hardy was like the European champion and RVD was the Hardcore champion. Or the other way around, or something like that. I don't know. I gotta go back and look at the match. But the match itself was really, really good. It's probably two of the most innovative stars ever in the WWE. They did some innovative things. I mean, RVD rolling thunder on the steel, on the ladder. So many just crazy things, man. These two could come up with that ladder. And RVD would retain, not retain, but win the Hardcore champion, becoming the first, and I believe the only person, and I think it was the last European and Hardcore champion, I believe. Quote me on that one. I really believe he was the final Hardcore and European champion before they got rid of both of them. But yeah, that was a really, really great matchup. Really, really exciting between two very, very, like I say, innovative superstars who are really willing to put their bodies on the line to entertain the fans. But yeah, definitely probably one of my best. I mean, there was other good matches at SummerSlam 01, but that probably was the most memorable one for me. Number 5 on my list is actually a really, really recent SummerSlam, as recent as last year. SummerSlam 2013, Daniel Bryan versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. Really, really awesome matchup. A lot of people give John Cena a lot of crap. He only got 5 moves of doom and all that stuff. But when it counts, John Cena can perform, and him and Daniel Bryan put on a show. A really, really just awesome matchup. Remember, John Cena had to get surgery on his show, elbow or something. Like they had chips in his elbow or something. And even with that going on, he put on a really, really awesome matchup with Daniel Bryan. I believe John Cena actually chose Daniel Bryan to face him. I think he knew. Well, he obviously knew, and the WWE knew that Daniel Bryan was probably one of the most over superstars in the WWE at the time, and still is to today. With the Jets and all that, John Cena. They knew that they couldn't pick anybody else but Daniel Bryan to put in that spot, or the fans were going to rage, and they did the right thing and chose Daniel Bryan and to put in that matchup. And actually, Daniel Bryan would go on and have a really, really good not just only have a really, really good match with John Cena, but would pin John Cena clean with that Bazaiku knee to the face, and would literally pin John Cena. That would be it. Daniel Bryan would celebrate with the fans until Triple H pedigreed Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton cashed in his Money in the Bank ladder match that he won at the previous month at Money in the Bank, and would win the WWE Championship from Daniel Bryan, and yeah, that happened. That would be the beginning of the whole corporate storyline between Daniel Bryan and the Authority. And eventually Daniel Bryan would win the championship back at WrestleMania 30, and it all will have a payoff. But as far as the match goes, that's a really, really good matchup. Probably one of the best on the card, other than Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. So, yeah, hopefully Brock Lesnar and John Cena will have a great match in the next week. We'll talk about that another time. Let's get to number 4. Number 4 on the list, SummerSlam 2000. Tables, ladders, and chairs. Hardys, Dudleys, Edge, and Christian. I think this was the first ever TLC match, and my God, it was crazy. We've seen them have table matches, we've seen ladder matches, but the first time they put all 3 of those elements together to just make a masterpiece, well, at least for the fans, because I know that they did enjoy it. I know that all those guys competing in that matchup felt it in the morning, because of everything they put their bodies through in those matches could just make you, you'd see it and it make you cringe, man. And my goodness, man, after having those matches, not only this is the first one, they would have what, 2 more after that, 2 or 3 more TLC matches after that, and I know that these guys are never going to be the same again. And I'm telling you, later on in life, man, the Hardys, Dudleys, ENC, they're gonna feel it once they get older. All those bumps they took in that matchup, because it was crazy. I remember in that matchup, just thinking right now, 2 spots that I'll never forget in that match is Jeff Hardy going up to the top rope, climbing a freaking 15-foot ladder, and literally trying to swanton bomb Bubba Ray on top of 2. I think he was stacked on 2 tables, and he tried to swanton bomb him. Bubba Ray moved and literally Jeff Hardy swanton bombed through 2 tables with nobody there onto the pavement, which was crazy. I thought freaking Jeff Hardy just killed himself right there. And there was another spot where Matt Hardy was going for the titles, and the Dudleys would push Matt Hardy onto the outside of the ring onto 2. There was 4 tables stacked on top of each other, and he put them through. No, wait a minute. That wasn't Matt Hardy. I think Matt Hardy was the one who pushed. Yeah, it was Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy pushed Bubba Ray into those 300-pound Bubba Ray through 4 freaking tables. Insane, crazy, right there. And then there was another spot where I think this is what I'm thinking. Matt Hardy would go through a table as well. I think Devon would push the ladder over. He would go through 2 tables on the outside. It looked like ENC were going to win the match, and I think Lita came out, pushed them over. I think Lita even got a spear in that match. I think Edge had speared Lita in that match somewhere. It was just crazy, man. It was a crazy thing. I remember Devon and Jeff Hardy hanging on to the championships, dangling from above the ring, kicking each other, trying to kick each other's off and all that. And I think it all ended where Edge and Christian smacked Jeff Hardy from off of it like he was a freaking fly or something. Smacked him off the titles. He fell down, and they retained the championships. I think they were the champions going in. I believe they were. So I think they retained the championships there, and they would definitely have another one of these matches, more of these matches on WrestleMania 1 and one on SmackDown. But man, these matches, no one of these matches don't happen anymore like this, because the spots they were doing at that time were absolutely freaking crazy, and it's definitely one of my favorite TLC. This is probably one of my favorite TLC matches, other than the one they had at WrestleMania. Really, really good. Definitely, if you've never seen it, check it out. It's probably one of the most famous ladder matches you're going to see ever in WWE. Number 3 on my countdown, SummerSlam. Here we go, 2002. Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. This match was the opening match of that SummerSlam, and my God, these guys just, oh my God, from the opening bell, these guys just went 110. I'm telling you, man, this was a fast-paced matchup, and Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, 2 of my favorites of all time, had a classic matchup that, in my opinion, if it was, that thing could have really, I wish it would have went on longer, because in a way it kind of felt short, but it was so good the entire time in that matchup. It all started, I think Rey was supposed to come out from the, he was making his entrance, and instead of coming out from the entranceway, he had actually, I think he had did like a hair scissors, hair karana to to Kurt Angle from his back, because like Kurt was like facing the entranceway and Ray Kid was on the other side, and he like, oh my god, like a backwards like Hurricanrana to him, crazy sick. Um, we saw the exploder belly to belly suplex, um, everything, man. Awesome counters, everything in that match. That match was perfect, perfectly done. If it was longer, I believe I probably would make that match #1. But for what it was, oh my god, it was really really good. I think in the end, like Ray tried to hit a super Frankensteiner on Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle somehow he went for the momentum of the move usually flips you over. He flipped, but caught Rey Mysterio's leg and got him in the ankle lock and tapped him out. Man, just an amazing matchup, man. I really love it. That's one of my favorite matches, SummerSlam right there, and definitely deserves this spot on my list for sure. Amazing matchup. #2 on my list from the same SummerSlam. Who knew? Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, non-sanctioned matchup, and it was really, 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 really crazy, entertaining matchup. And I had to put this. A lot of people are like, "Where was your favorite star? How could this match go over that one?" Well, if you've seen this match, you would know why. Not everything was perfect. The story, the match itself, just brutal. A brutal matchup, man. I'm telling you. Triple H, I think Shawn Michaels had just returned back to the WWE, and this was his first match back um, since he had his back injury back in '97. Yeah, '97. So this is his first match. Everybody was thinking, can Shawn Michaels come back and still be the showstopper? Can he still be Can he steal the shows like he did back in the day? Can he still be that great? A lot of people probably were doubting Shawn Michaels, saying, "Man, he's old. He just can't do this anymore." But Shawn Michaels proved them wrong, because in that matchup, Shawn Michaels went 110% and showed exactly why he is the showstopper, why he is the main event. Because he went out there, went toe to toe with Triple H, didn't miss a step, and it was an amazing matchup. Shawn Michaels came back, and I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels were going to be come back as D-Generation X. They went out there. Triple H pedigreed him, and there's this whole story about how now Shawn Michaels was holding Triple H down. He just used them, and now Triple H is the main event. Triple H is everything. Shawn Michaels is the pass. That was the whole story behind it. It was really, really. But as far as the match goes, it was brutal. Blood, chairs, everything. I mean, I remember just Triple H was working on the back of Shawn Michaels the whole time. Remember he did like a backbreaker using a chair. It was sick. Chair shots to the back. Everything. Pedigree reversals. I remember Shawn Michaels getting on top of the ladder and elbow dropping Triple H. It was right into the heart. It was just a lot of crazy stuff in that matchup, man. I couldn't believe. I mean, if you would have thought that you couldn't even notice that Shawn Michaels was gone for 4 years, because he really didn't show it at all in that matchup. He looked like he's been there, hanging with the new guys, for years. Really, he was on point, man. I'm telling you. And I think Shawn Michaels was going for Sweet Chin Music. Got countered. Triple H spinning around with a pedigree. Swept his legs, hit the jackknife cover. 1, 2, 3. Shawn Michaels wins the matchup. But the icing on the cake for that matchup had to be at the end. After the match was won, Shawn Michaels was celebrating. Triple H, being the great heel that he is, hit him in the back, the head, I believe, with a sledgehammer or a steel chair or something, and took him out. And Triple H will walk away with that smirk, saying that he's got the last layup, which was really, really awesome. I love that from that matchup. Alright, guys, I finally made it to #1. Before we get there, I just want to mention some honorable mentions of matches that didn't quite make my list, but definitely are worth watching. Matches like SummerSlam 2000, Shane McMahon versus Steve Blackman, hardcore match, really awesome. Undertaker versus Edge in the Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam 2008, I believe. SummerSlam 2002, Rob Van Dam versus Chris Benoit. Um, and there's a couple others too, but man, yeah, those are really really good matches that I would definitely give a thumbs up to watch. Definitely good. As far as SummerSlam matches go, my favorite match at SummerSlam ever: Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam 1992. This match is just awesome. I went back, watched this match for the first time on I think it was my Bret Hart DVD when I first got it years ago, and man, this match is just simply amazing. For the first time, and I think the only time, the Intercontinental Championship was the final match on the card. That was the final match on the card for the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and I believe SummerSlam '92 was in the UK, and I believe that was the biggest crowd ever in SummerSlam history right there. And it surely did look big when they showed the crowd after the matchup. But it was a really awesome match between two really really great wrestlers in British Bulldog and Bret Hart. And they put on a performance of a lifetime. When it was just a perfect match. It kind of looked like art in a way. I mean, sometimes I believe wrestling matches could be so good that it becomes an art, and definitely they put on art, and it really told a great story between those two men. They had British Bulldog's wife and Bret Hart's sister, Diana Smith, in the crowd, and they kept panning to her, saying, how she has to watch her husband and her brother, go at it for this championship. Hopefully that they can still be friends after this, and there's some really, really awesome stuff in that match. I don't really want to spoil any spots or anything really, great about it. But a lot of a lot of good wrestling. You like wrestling as a whole? If you're a fan of professional wrestling, you're gonna love that matchup if you've never seen it before, because it is definitely a classic, and definitely I believe that match is possibly one of the most popular matches in SummerSlam history. And I think it's looked at as one of the best. And it definitely is. British Bulldog had his time in the limelight when he beat Bret Hart that night for the Intercontinental Championship. It was such a great moment, and then the fact that these guys shook hands after the match. Diana Smith got in the ring, pyro went off. It was really, really awesome. It's basically like British Bulldog winning the World Championship, basically, and main event WrestleMania almost. It kind of felt that way. They made a really, really big deal out of this, which was really, really cool to see that. And they really show exactly how important the Intercontinental Championship was at that time. But yeah, that was really, really good. And one of my favorite matches. Now I can always go back and watch that match and enjoy it from